Berlin, 1955. On the surface, a divided city of rubble and reconstruction. Beneath it, an operation so secret that even most of the spies in Berlin didn't know it existed. Half a mile long, buried 20 feet underground, and dug entirely by hand. It was called Operation Gold.
A joint mission between MI6 and the CIA to tap into the Soviet Army's most guarded communication lines.
An engineering miracle built in silence, and a masterpiece of espionage that was doomed before the first cable was even tapped. The plan was born in 1951, when Western intelligence realized that much of the Soviet command network in East Germany ran through underground landlines buried beneath the eastern sector of Berlin. Radio transmissions could be intercepted from the air, but cables, they were invisible. To reach them, spies would have to go underground, literally. The idea came from MI6 engineer Peter Lunn, who proposed building a tunnel from the American sector, deep under the border, to the cable route carrying top-secret Soviet traffic between their army headquarters in Karlshorst and Moscow. It was audacious, almost absurd. But in the logic of the Cold War, absurdity often became strategy. The CIA approved the plan, code-named Operation Gold, while MI6 called their side operation Stopwatch.
A cover story was invented. The Americans would build a new warehouse near the border to store communication equipment.
Underneath, a tunnel would snake its way beneath East Berlin.
Every detail was designed for silence.
Rubber-wheeled carts, soundproof drills, and excavation during the hours when Soviet patrols changed shifts.
The project would involve more than 300 workers, each compartmentalized so tightly that none knew the tunnel's full purpose. Even the construction crews believed they were working on a drainage system.
To build in secrecy, MI6 and CIA engineers turned espionage into architecture. They installed vibration sensors to detect movement from above. Every shovel strike was timed to mask the noise of Soviet traffic. Concrete walls were poured by hand, reinforced with steel, and coated in sound-deadening material.
At its deepest point, the tunnel ran nearly 25 feet below ground, crossing directly under the Soviet border.
An act that, if discovered, could have triggered a diplomatic explosion. Inside, the walls were lined with telephone junction boxes, transformers, and a climate-controlled cable tapping chamber. When complete, it would stretch 1,476 feet, longer than 4 football fields. The engineering challenge alone bordered on science fiction. Each night, workers removed hundreds of cubic meters of soil without leaving a trace.
They disguised the excavated earth inside cement bags and construction waste. Materials were shipped in labeled electrical equipment, all logged through a dummy American company. Every vent, every pipe, every floor panel was designed with plausible deniability. Even the tunnel's power supply was routed through false electrical meters to avoid raising suspicion. It was a triumph of ingenuity and paranoia, because both sides of Berlin lived in fear of what the other might already know.
By 1954, the tunnel reached its target, a cluster of Soviet underground cables carrying high-priority communications for the Red Army's high command. MI6's technical division developed specialized inductive taps that could siphon signals without interrupting transmission. They weren't cutting the line. They were listening through electromagnetic resonance, detecting tiny oscillations that could be translated back into voice and Morse code. It was the first operation of its kind. Inside a hidden listening room disguised as a maintenance depot, analysts from MI6 and the CIA began recording everything: military orders, troop movements, political briefings, even gossip among Soviet officers. For the first time since the war, the West was inside the enemy's head. And yet, the moment the first signal was recorded, the operation was already compromised. Months earlier, an MI6 officer named George Blake had secretly joined the KGB. Disillusioned after captivity in North Korea, he turned against his service, feeding Moscow details of British operations, including the tunnel. Before the first shovel hit soil, the Soviets knew everything.
But instead of shutting it down, they made a decision that defied all logic. They let it continue. To expose it immediately would reveal Blake's betrayal, a far more valuable secret than the tunnel itself. So the Soviets performed their own deception. They altered communication routes, seeded false intelligence, and used the tunnel to feed misinformation directly to MI6 and the CIA. It became a closed loop of espionage, each side listening, each side lying. An Ouroboros of intelligence where truth and deception devoured each other. Western analysts believed they were hearing authentic Soviet operations. In reality, they were often recording what Moscow wanted them to hear. For nearly a year, both sides participated in an elaborate illusion built beneath their feet. Despite the hidden compromise, the data flowing through the tunnel was staggering. Over 50,000 reels of tape were recorded, containing more than 400,000 conversations. Linguists, cryptanalysts, and analysts worked around the clock translating intercepted messages.
And while many were routine, others revealed genuine insight into Soviet logistics, troop morale, and radar systems. The tunnel became both a triumph and a trap, a monument to the duality of espionage, brilliance and futility, precision and betrayal. For 11 months, the tunnel operated without discovery.
Engineers maintained it meticulously, draining groundwater, checking electrical integrity, and rotating analysts to prevent fatigue.
Every week, couriers carried encrypted transcripts back to London and Langley under diplomatic cover. The intelligence gathered was deemed so sensitive it was restricted to the highest classification, top secret, eyes only.
Officials briefed the White House directly on findings from beneath Berlin. No one suspected that the Soviets already knew every inch of it. Then, in April 1956, the illusion collapsed.
Soviet repair crews allegedly investigating faulty telephone lines stumbled upon the tunnel.
They called in military officials, photographers, and journalists. Soviet propaganda denounced the discovery as imperialist aggression and criminal violation of sovereignty.
They invited foreign correspondents to tour the site, a masterpiece of exposure. The West could neither confirm nor deny involvement.
Officially, Washington called it an engineering experiment.
Unofficially, MI6 and the CIA watched as years of work disappeared in a single week.
Publicly, the Soviets scored a propaganda victory. Privately, they had already extracted their own benefit. By letting the tunnel run, they'd not only protected Blake, but also measured Western interception capabilities, what microphones they used, what frequencies they targeted, how they processed data. They learned how the West listened, and that, in the chessboard of espionage, was intelligence more valuable than any cable transcript. For MI6 and the CIA, the discovery was devastating. Hundreds of agents had risked exposure. Millions of dollars had been spent. And yet, the very existence of the tunnel had forced the Soviets to reroute their communication systems. A disruption that ultimately slowed Soviet operations across Eastern Europe.
Even compromised, Operation Gold had achieved one of its strategic aims,
forcing the enemy to reveal how they adapted under pressure.
In espionage, even failure can yield intelligence. George Blake's betrayal would remain hidden for another 5 years.
He continued working inside MI6, attending briefings, even debriefing officers who had worked on the tunnel.
His calm, unassuming demeanor shielded him from suspicion. When he was finally exposed in 1961, investigators realized the full scale of his damage.
He had handed over the identities of dozens of Western agents, compromised nearly every major MI6 operation in Europe, and crippled Britain's espionage credibility. For the Berlin Tunnel team, it was the final confirmation of what they had long suspected. The enemy had been listening from the start.
Blake was sentenced to 42 years in prison, the longest in British history at the time. 5 years later, he escaped, smuggled out of Wormwood Scrubs by left-wing sympathizers, and fled to Moscow, where he lived out his days as a decorated KGB colonel.
Meanwhile, the tunnel he betrayed was quietly sealed, its existence erased from public memory until declassified decades later. Today,
Only fragments remain. A few rusted panels, concrete slabs, and faint outlines beneath modern housing blocks. No monument marks it, just the silence of a city that's seen too many secrets buried beneath it. The Berlin Tunnel stands as a monument to Cold War paradox.
It proved that engineering could become espionage, that spies could build architecture capable of eavesdropping on empires. But it also proved that betrayal can travel faster than technology. For all the concrete, steel, and code-breaking brilliance, one man's whispered confession outweighed it all.
It reminds us that intelligence is never purely about machines or data.
It's about trust.
And trust, once broken, collapses faster than any tunnel. What does Operation Gold reveal about the Cold War? That beneath the rhetoric of ideology lay an obsession with knowledge.
To know more, to listen deeper, to control the unseen. Both sides built cities of secrets. Both feared silence more than war.
And in that fear, they built a world where even truth became classified. The Berlin Tunnel may be gone, but its echo remains.
In every surveillance program, every hidden microphone, every invisible wire humming beneath modern cities, technology changes.
Paranoia doesn't.
If this story of buried ambition and betrayal changed how you see the secret history of the Cold War, share it and subscribe.